Good morning. I'm glad to be with you, talking to you about you and your business. As always, we got a lot lined up for you today, and I want to jump straight to it here on this Monday morning. Actually, Friday morning. I tell you, the time just goes fast. My whole life is a blur. I got John Cooke here on the program. He is a sheriff out there in Weld County in Colorado. They recently put into effect a law that I would say is unconstitutional, may eventually face some legal challenges in the Supreme Court, but just on the basis of it is a ludicrous law simply from an enforcement perspective, and that alone is becoming the grounds on which he's fighting it. But I get the impression, Sheriff, that you're probably even equally or more concerned about the Second Amendment implications. Welcome to the program.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Actually, I'm very concerned about the implications on the Second Amendment because, you know, they keep chipping away, or they keep trying to chip away and at our rights, and they seem to, like, when I say they, I mean our state legislature and the Obama administration. They want to take our gun rights away, and they think that makes us safer, where it's quite the contrary.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, because you are in law enforcement. How long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement a total of 35 years. I've been the sheriff of Weld County for 12, and I've been at the sheriff's office for 30 years altogether.
So you got a little bit of experience, so that's good. Let me ask you, so with that, you know, you get the impression, you know, especially if you get your news from Chicago and you get your news from New York, that there's a consensus among law enforcement that guns, you know, that the criminalizing of guns is a good thing, even though statistics bear the opposite. Cities with the toughest gun control laws, ironically, have the highest amount of crime. It's funny how that works that way. But what is really the sentiment of law enforcement, in your opinion, nationwide when it comes to guns?
Well, actually, the sentiment of law enforcement is very anti-gun control. When I made news after the legislature last year passed these gun control laws, I said I wasn't going to enforce them because they were unenforceable and, in my opinion, unconstitutional. I received thousands of emails from law enforcement nationwide, and I'm talking from New York City and from Chicago, federal agents, street officers, and they overwhelmingly supported my position. And there's this magazine called Police1.com, and they did a survey of 15,000 line-level police officers nationwide, and they asked them about gun control laws, and they asked what would happen if they put magazine bans or 10-round limits on magazines. Would that help with the crime rate? 90% said it would add to the crime rate, not diminish the crime rate. And they also said the background checks don't work, and they thought that in order to stop mass shootings, what's needed is more armed, law-abiding citizens, and that was at about 85, almost 90% of law enforcement that feels that if you have an armed society of law-abiding citizens, mass shootings are going to go down, or at least the number of casualties are going to go down.
I think it's interesting. You know, I personally think they should regulate so-called gun-free zones out of existence. If you're going to call yourself a gun-free zone, you better have X number of law enforcement there to protect it, with plenty of hardware to protect it, because it's an invitation to the mentally ill and the deranged and the otherwise evil to come and do what they do.
Yeah, you know, if you look at these mass shootings across the country, they're all at gun-free zones. The Aurora Theater Mall, they're the only theater in, I think it was like a 5 or 10 mile radius, that had signs in their doors that guns are not allowed. The shooter could have gone to one of those other malls or one of those other theaters, but he didn't. He went to the only one that said no guns allowed. If you look at these school shootings, it's because they're gun-free zones. At Virginia Tech, the Arapahoe High School, they're all gun-free zones, and that's where these mass shootings are happening, because these people, these nuts, they know it. They know that if they go to a gun-free zone, the chances are of them encountering a citizen with a gun is pretty minimal.
Yeah. Hey, do you know what the political makeup of the Colorado legislature is?
Yes. Unfortunately, the Democrats took control of the House and the Senate and the governor's mansion a couple of years ago. But because of these gun control laws, it was, I think it was 20 to 15 Democrats in the Senate. Well, after they passed these gun control laws, you might have heard we had 2 recalls of Democrat senators. One was the president of the Senate. He was recalled in his district. and a gal down in Pueblo, Hispanic female, heavy Democrat, heavy Hispanic area, got recalled by 12 points. And then there was a senator in the metro area that was about to be recalled, and she resigned so that the Democrats could keep control. So right now it's 18 Democrats in the Senate and 17 Republicans. So it's very close in the Senate, and hopefully we'll take it back this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds very positive. And Colorado was Republican in both houses, a rarity for quite some time, but they lost that, I guess, a few years ago.
Yeah, we were the Republicans had the House and the Senate for 44 years at one point.
Yeah,
and then the governor's mansion was kind of split between Republicans and Democrats, and then the Democrats took control of both houses, and like I said, hopefully this year we'll take it back.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, my producer is curious as to why that was, because that is an anomaly. Both houses over 40 years. What's your take on that?
Well, they just did a better job at the ground game. They did a better job of raising money and spending money, and they did a better job of organizing. And the Volunteers for America, Obama's political action wing, they organized and outworked us, and we have no one to blame but ourselves, to be quite honest with you.
Right. So is that recent? It happened under the Obama regime?
Yeah. Let's see this. Yeah, they took it over in 2010, so just about 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, Sheriff. I have been, asked before. Kevin, you sound like guns are really important. Sounds like you would, trade your vote for a gun. I said, I tell you what, if I can only have one or another, let me have my gun, because my gun can protect my vote. But Adolf Hitler proved that my vote can't protect my gun.
Well, that's a great point. That is so true. And you look back at the Second Amendment, it wasn't so we can go hunting. It was to stop tyranny, and so that the people could protect themselves. That's why we have the Second Amendment, not so that we can collect guns and put them in our safe or put them on the wall, or to hunt. Which I'm a firm believer in those, but it was to stop tyranny.
That's exactly right. The vast majority of Americans, by the time the Constitution was written in the 1780s, they weren't going out hunting their food. Most of them, particularly in the North, they were going to the store, just like we go to the store to do it. It was to defend our liberties. How concerned are you? Everyone's concerned about being an alarmist, but the things I see and the breakneck pace we're going, how do you not become a little bit of an alarmist? How alarmed are you when it comes to our liberties?
Oh, I'm very alarmed, and I'm more concerned, I think, for my kids and my future grandkids, because I see them, like I said, chipping away at our liberties and our freedoms and our rights every day. And Mitt Romney wasn't wrong when he said 44 or 47% of this nation are entitled. They feel they're entitled to things, and they are entitled according to the government. So the government, they suck you in by giving you all this money and these entitlements, and then they feel they can take away your freedoms and your liberties. And you look at it every single day. The government is trying to tell us what's best for us, and because they know what's best for us, and so they are chipping away at our rights and our freedoms. And Obamacare is just one more aspect of it. And so I'm very concerned for my freedoms and my liberties. But when I look down at my kids, I say, "Wow, I'm really concerned for theirs."
Yeah,
because where does it end? And I don't think it does end until we become a complete socialist state.
Got to wrap it up. I do want to mention that article that you refer to from Police One, I have it over at usdailyreview.com. You can check it out there. Make sure you check it out. What kind of repercussions are you facing, real quick, with this 30 seconds? What kind of repercussions are you facing for the stance that you're taking?
Well, actually, I'm not facing much because Weld County is a very conservative county, and like I said, I've received thousands of emails and support, and I'm running for state senate, to be quite honest with you, and the support I'm receiving because of my stance has been very, very positive. I've received a lot of negative comments, or not a lot, but some negative comments, but I don't care about those people. I care about my constituents.
Thanks so much for being with us, Sheriff John Cooke. Do you have a website that you want to refer people to?
Well, we have the Weld County website, which is just weldsheriff.com. I have my own website, which is Cooke for Colorado SD13.com.
That'll be good. Let's leave it with that. Thanks so much for being with us, Sheriff.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. When we come back, more for you right here on The Price of Business.